Welcome to the Crossing Cultures podcast with the Office of Global Engagement. My name is Alexia, and I am not only a peer navigator with our office, but I am also a study abroad program alum. Today I'm speaking with Alexia Arevalo, who is also a study abroad program alum. So hi, Alexia. Thank you so much for being here with us today. If you could just go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you for having me, first of all. My name is Alexia. Of course, you know me by Lexi, yes. So go ahead and call me that. I'm currently a senior right now in kinesiology with a concentration of pre-PT. And I've been on 2 study abroad trips. My first one was South Africa, and then my second one, which was my most recent back in May, was Ireland for kinesiology. South Africa was political science.
So can you tell us a little bit about your recent program, which would be the kinesiology one in Ireland? What did y'all do when y'all were over there? What was like the whole connection to kinesiology in Ireland?
The whole connection for it was basically looking at like physical activity, sports, things like that, how it compares to and differentiate between the US and Ireland, essentially. So like over there, for example, you would walk or take like public transportation everywhere, and here you only really walk on like campus or at the store, and you just drive everywhere. So that was like a big difference. I got like 15, almost 16,000 steps every day over there. That's not including the days we went to like touristy things where we got even more walking. So that was a big difference.
Okay, that's like, wow. That is very significant. But they also have way better public transportation systems in here.
Oh, yes, they definitely do, because going over there, we spent a day in New York, and the public transportation over there was like very scary. In all honesty, like New York subway is not what you think it is in movies. It is way scarier, way like trashy. I don't want to say that, but over there they had like 3 forms of transportation. They had like the little train, the bus, and then like a longer train for like out of Dublin. Mm-hmm. And those were super easy to access and everything like that. They were so clean too. It was surprising.
So what were some of the activities that you did while you were in Ireland?
One of them for sure was going to University College Dublin or University Dublin College. I don't remember which way it is, but we went to the university. We got to meet with a few of their professors, part of their like kinesiology program, some of their master students and PhD students. So we got to see their like thesis and things like that, which was really interesting. Oh my God. And then we went on like some touristy things. So like we went to the cliffs of Moher, which is on the other side of Ireland, which surprisingly it is only 3 hours to get to there. Oh. Which I was like, 3 hours from here is to like Austin. You're not even halfway through Texas. I was like, you're already all the way across the country over here.
That's so crazy. Oh my God.
And then the most fun I had was on a kayak tour.
What did you do? Like
we were just kayaking on the Dublin River.
Was it like busy or?
No, because it was the water was lower because I think like it was their season, like the way the water was. But we went on a kayak tour, so it was like 2 in every kayak, and the people who were leading it were on a boat, and they were like musicians, but not like well-known musicians. They were like little like
indie pop, underground
sort of. And this girl, she sang and played the guitar, and her voice and her songs, she writes them herself. They were so good. I wish I could have recorded it, but I was scared to drop my phone in the water. So.
That is so magical. Okay, so Ireland, it was a totally different experience, I'm assuming, from South Africa. Can you kind of elaborate on maybe, first of all, talking about your experience and your program that was in South Africa? Like, what was that all about? How you felt about it? What were some of the activities you did? Just to let our audience know a little bit more.
Well, I would say like a similarity between both was like not really like transportation, but the whole walking everywhere, the physical activity, basically like relating to my major a little bit, was that like even in South Africa, we did a lot of walking other than like driving like we would do here. So that was something similar. And like activities related in South Africa were more political science based. So we learned how their economy worked and things like that. So that was like a big difference. What else am I supposed to talk about?
So I know, like, me and you, we went to South Africa together. We were both there for political science with Dr. Goswami. So basically, our everyday agenda was to go to the university, which was Stellenbosch, in the morning, go to our lectures. And I think that was very impactful because it wasn't just like lecturers or professors. It was like we had grad students, we had locals, we had like,
oh yes, yes,
like we had, I think, wasn't there like a councilman who like came in and taught one day for a lecture?
I think so. It was something like that. And then we had that one guy who did research in like South America, and he was the one with all the pictures from like the different things or something like that.
You see, and I thought like that was very impactful about how like your study abroad program can just impact in like the different knowledge realms that you have, because you're not just like talking to the professors of a university, you're talking to the locals, which really helped give me that insight and different perspective of that openness. And so I know you said you went to like the University of Dublin. Did they have like that? Did you feel the same way about the impact, about like what they were talking to you about with the like different professors and well, actually you said it was grad students, right?
Yes.
So did you feel more connected to them than you did like when you were in South Africa?
I will say yes, just because it was more related to what I know and what I'm learning. So I'm not saying it wasn't impactful in South Africa, but I would say like I kind of had a little more of a hard time understanding certain things because I just wasn't knowledgeable within political science. But over there in South Africa, Ireland, sorry, whoops. I would say it was a little more impactful because there was things that I was able to relate to, things I could bring back and put towards my like future career, things like that.
So even like for me, I'm a business major, so I'm not necessarily in like the political science realm where I can use that, where I can't really use that for my main degree plan, but I am using like my study abroad program for South Africa for my higher elective. And I think that really just changed the way that I think about knowledge, because it was more like hands-on learning. When you're in a program, I feel like it's more hands-on learning when you're seeing like the different, like even the kayak tour that you went on, you're actually there and you're taking in the whole environment instead of just sitting in a classroom and just being like, okay, like let's look at things through a textbook. You're actually living what the textbook is telling you about. And I think that was very impactful.
Yes, I would say that because granted, we didn't spend like in South Africa, and I'm not blaming the professor or anything. It's because this was her first time too, so she didn't really know what to plan. But all the like touristy things we did relate to it, to like what we were going for, because all of our assignments that we did were related to those things. So for example, the kayak tour, that was related to blue and green spaces and how they affect people's like motivation and wanting to either benefit themselves or things like that within physical activity.
You see, okay, but I've also heard about the blue and green spaces. That's actually like a worldwide known thing, which I didn't know about, because I don't think we have that in America, or it's not as prevalent here.
It's not, because like in New York, for example, we got to describe the differences between the U.S. and Ireland. So my example was like in New York, they have parks. Yes, they have things like that, but it's not as impactful as it was in Ireland, where there was parks everywhere. There was the river you can kayak on, things like that. And in New York, you only had like 3 major parks, and that was it.
Yeah, you only have like Central Park. And even at that, Central Park is beautiful. Been there, love that. But also it's like you're not there to relax, so to say. You're kind of there to just kind of take in what the climate and environment is in New York, and it's very busy. Like you always have somebody like trying to hustle and like sell different products, and then you're always having like to this. Yeah. There's no way that you can like properly relax. Like I could totally relate to what you're saying with that part.
And I would say like even here in Kingsville, like we have the park, yes, but every time I go, in all honesty, I feel like I'm gonna get like attacked or something. Like I hate to say it, but like I can't really fully relax there because there's that like fear in the back. But in Ireland, their crime rate was really low, so you could like literally just go out and be like totally fine.
Exactly. But I think that also has to do with how they make their whole climate, in the sense of like their environments. It's more eco-friendly, it's more sustainable. It's like over here in Texas in the United States, I understand we have bigger states and we have bigger like land, and we have different variations within. So we're not really like sidewalk friendly or pedestrian friendly. We're more like, oh, you need a car to get around here. Like especially in Texas.
Oh yes.
Texas, you can go from one end to like the other, and you're not even done within like 6 hours. Like you're still going for 4 more hours just to get somewhere. And I think that's very like also something else to talk about, because even when in South Africa, like you had everything. You were walking, you're going to Stellenbosch in the morning, then you can go to the university, like to the square, and then you can just go back to your hotel. Like it was just those
that was the thing that someone had brought up on the trip, that like they compared it walking from like where they live around the college to HEB, that there was no like sidewalks, no way to feel safe while walking. And over there, you could walk anywhere because there were sidewalks everywhere. There was somewhere for like pedestrians or people even on bikes to go.
Yeah. And even like their railroad system, way different. Like we have trains, and we have like train stops in the middle of the town. So it's like, how do you know, like you don't, like you're stuck there for like 40 minutes if a train is coming through. Like you're gonna have to wait there, standing there, and it's just like not as friendly to having like that easy access to get to go to places.
Oh yeah.
But so while you're comparing, like in Ireland, did you have any culture shock compared to South Africa, or was it vice versa? How did you feel about the environment? Because I know you said it felt very safe. And for me, when I just came back from Germany about 2 months ago in May. So I felt some of that culture shock there, but I want to know your experience. Like, how did you feel compared South Africa to Ireland, the two different programs that you've been on?
Well, comparing like culture shock wise, before even going to like South Africa, I didn't know a lot about it. So I feel that the culture shock for me was more in South Africa than Ireland, because I already knew Ireland was more like how we are, like very well populated, very, how do you say it? Like there's buildings everywhere, there's factories everywhere, things like that. And when I was applying to South Africa, I knew of Cape Town and that like, oh, the World Cup was there, so there has to be something there.
Yeah.
Like I hate to be like that, but like I didn't know it was like how it was. That there was like Stellenbosch with the university, very not like like factories everywhere, but it was very much like how we are, that they're very industrialized. So I feel that the culture shock was more in South Africa, especially with what were they called? Those little houses that were always like right next to each other.
Are you talking about the shanty shacks?
Yes, those things. Like, I didn't even expect that too until we were like made to watch that one movie, Invictus. Oh yeah. And I was like, oh, like maybe that was back then, but no, it's like still around, and it's crazy to see how those are still affecting people over there today. And like in Ireland, granted they had a lot of like poverty, people without homes, but it wasn't to where like I was like, oh my God, it's like it was kind of something I've already seen before.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, so I think I could totally understand like how the shanty shacks, and how we really didn't know much about like South Africa. Of course, like we knew about like Cape Town. I knew about Cape Town because of like the sharks, and like I knew about, was it Nelson Mandela?
Yes,
Nelson Mandela. Okay, yes. Nelson Mandela and Robben Island. I knew about him, and I knew that he like kind of helped revolutionize and also all of that. So I was like, oh, okay, maybe like let's see what this is all about. I am not gonna lie, I did not know they were that industrialized.
Yes,
because I felt like I knew nothing from the media as well. It's very like still underkept, but also they're still like modernizing as well. And I love to see that, the differences between Cape Town, which is like one of like their biggest towns in South Africa, and then you also have Stellenbosch, which is just like a little
like
tiny,
a college town.
Yeah,
sort of.
it's a college town. It was so homey. But I will say, comparing my business program that I did in Germany and then the political science program that we did in South Africa, I felt 10 times more culture shock in Germany. I don't know why I felt that way. I think I felt more at home in South Africa because we had that connectedness with like Gita and Anel, which were the grad students of Stellenbosch, and they just kind of made it like a home and environment. And also like how you said, like the shanty shacks, and how they're still like, they're growing together as a family, as a community. They're not growing like as individually. And I think that kind of like connected with me because I am a first generation student. I grew up as like low income. My family was always trying to be together. Like I was always like, at my grandma's house and like always with my cousins, my tios. And so like seeing that connectedness in South Africa, I felt more at home. I felt more at ease because you can see all of that together. And also it's like they're a minority. I grew up with minority. That is just like, I'm Hispanic and I'm a Latina. So it's just seeing all of that. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's what felt at home. Compared to when I was in Germany, it is not, yes, they have a diverse population, but it's not as diverse as it was like in South Africa or even in the United States. It was not as like minority oriented at like whatsoever. And it also wasn't like, it was more individualized where like I did not see any like impoverished people. And I was just like, oh, okay. Like it was more like modernized. It was more, I was like, oh, okay. I felt like I stepped into a different dimension, and I was like, oh wow, this is totally different. Their houses are like lavishes, and it's not like anything that like I kind of grew up with. So I don't know if that kind of like didn't really, I don't know. I didn't.
And see, I'm not saying like I didn't feel at home in South Africa, because I did. And I feel like what made that like more homey for me was Gita and Anel.
Yes.
And just being so close to like some of the other students that went. And I'm not saying I wasn't close to the students in Ireland, but I feel like that's what made it more homey. And I'm guessing that's why I didn't get as much, like, that's why I got so much of a culture shock, because I wasn't expecting it to be like that.
Well, even we had grad students. So we did the university, we did Leuphana University there in Germany. It was in Lunenburg. And we actually had grad students too, which I thought that was really cool, because I was like, oh my God, yes. And their names were Lisa and Anna. So I was like always talking to like Lisa and Anna and be like, oh yeah, you know, but it was more like totally different spectrums, I can say. And I was just like, oh wow. And I think that really did play into like how I really took in the experience as well, because it was a lot more museums. And like in Germany, it was a lot more museums. It was a lot more like scholastic and like scholarly learning, compared to where like in Africa it was hands-on engagement. We went to the safari, we went to Kuwata, we went to like Aquila was a safari, and then we went to like, we had like the locals, and they brought their tribal instruments and like showing us that. And I was like, oh my goodness, wow. It was like, whoa. But not to say in Germany it wasn't like, oh wow, like I'm understanding the different cultures and how that impacted, of course, the United States, because we have all like that German influence as well, even in Texas, like Fredericksburg. And you know what's so cool, even on like the train station, one of the stops was like Fredericksburg, and I was like, I know that place, it's in Texas. So even like that, and these programs really do change you in a way, because it's taking your learning from just like inside the scope of what you're used to and making you think outside of the box tenfold. And
not just that, it's making me like realize that everything that like you once knew isn't always exactly the way it's supposed to be.
Oh my God,
or like how it's like projected.
Like even how we said like how we knew nothing about South Africa, like we didn't know it was that modernized or industrialized. And it just like
even my mom, like I'm gonna be honest, I'm calling her out on this, but like before we went to South Africa, she was like, are you gonna be living in huts and all this other stuff? And I was like, Mom, like it probably isn't like that anymore, even if it was like that. Like,
but it like having these programs, having faculty who supports that brings that awareness that we all need, especially like in this day of age, like in like with the job market and trying to get a job, and like you have to be able to be a globalized perspective learner to understand that you have to globalize your degree, because all these different employers, you can be working with a coworker on your desktop and they're going to be in Ohio, or they're going to be like in Canada, and you need to know how to like interact with them and have that cross-culture learning and like connectivity.
I can say that is true, because my mom works with someone online who's in London and in China at the same time.
You see, and
so like it's hard for her sometimes, because she's like the language barrier, first of all, and then time zone difference. She has to learn how to be able to message on her own time and make sure she gets everything put in that like she's asking or requesting, and then being able to get on right away again if the other person needs her and things like that. So I feel like that's going to be one thing that's helped me, realizing, oh, put yourself in their shoes. What are they doing right now?
Yes, that is exact. To me, that gives me like goosebumps just thinking about how we were so fortunate to do 2 programs, have faculty that supports us, have a university who stands behind us to show like, hey, this is worth doing. This is worth like investing in, because you're not only investing in like the students, you're investing in their career, you're investing in their future and that future growth. And to me, I just think that's so wild. I absolutely love it. So I know that you said like Ireland, South Africa. which one do you think that you had the closest connection to?
Closest connection?
Yeah. Like with, I want to say, yeah, closest connection to.
In all honesty, I don't know.
Uh-huh.
I would want to favor one more, but I can't because I would say South Africa because I felt like the whole hands-on deal, being able to connect with everyone, feeling at home, things like that. But then Ireland because it was more related to what I'm able to do in the future and what I was able to learn from it more. So I can't really say which one I connected to more just because of that. So I would say both, but a little more towards South Africa.
It just gives you that tie because every program is different. Like you cannot even like every program is very different. The way that it's thought out, the intricacity, the different thoughts and like development plans that it all goes through, and it's just like amazing because I remember we were talking like to Dr. Shippard and she was just so excited to go out there and she was like, oh my god, like I can't believe there's interest for this, like to get students to go out there, like she wanted that one-on-one interaction, she wanted that
I will say she very did much want it because she planned too many things back to back. I will just say that it was a lot of early mornings to where we were waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Oh yeah, I had those early mornings are rough, but I think at the end of the day, it's so worth it because you like look back on later on in life. I'm like, oh my god, I missed like waking up at the butt crack of dawn and going out there and doing things.
I mean, not really because the sun would rise at like 5 o'clock in the morning and set at like 10:30 at night. So you were still awake at 12 o'clock.
Yeah, can we talk about that really quickly? Like how the sun? I don't know.
It's because like from what I think I'm understanding correctly is because like Ireland is so much higher up and depending on like the season and things, how like the earth is tilting, so that's why you have more sunlight and things like that. So like the northern hemisphere is in summer right now, so the closer higher up you get, the closer it's so we would be like awake at 5 o'clock in the morning because it would be like how bright it is at 8 o'clock in the morning over here, that's how bright it was 5 o'clock in the morning over there,
which to me is crazy.
And absolutely it was crazy. Still like not really bright, but like a good decently bright outside by like 9:30 when it's like already dark over here. It was still bright out there, so our brains were still thinking like keep moving, keep going, and we were all still awake at like 12 o'clock midnight, like we're hungry, let's go down the street for food.
Oh my god. Wait, yes, 100%. So since you are an alum for 2 of these amazing programs, how are you going to use these experiences in the future to globalize your degree?
Well, like for sure in Ireland, we were told that if we ever have like any other questions about like our major or like things relating to like kinesiology, of course, we were able to reach out to those grad students and things like that. So like one way I'd want to globalize my degree is like within my field, I want to go for PT. So the one way I would want to do it is by like reaching out to like other colleges, universities, or even like doctors over there in South Africa, in Ireland, and in other places too, if possible. Like, oh, I have a patient that's dealing with this, and this. How or like what ways are y'all doing to treat it? Because right now our way isn't really getting anywhere, things like that. I would want to be able to reach out to other people and get input on things like that, or even possibly like do research in the future with my degree, things like that.
That is so cool. So I know for physical therapy, right, PT, you're going to have, right now you're finishing your bachelor's, you're seniors, you're getting closer to the finish line.
In the fall.
You got this. You're going to have to go for higher education, right? So did you already apply for...
Not yet, because PT schools are very, they want everything. So I'm going to miss priority deadline application, of course, for fall 24, but I will apply for at least the deadline by the time at the end of graduation when I graduate, because I will have everything and that's what they want. And so I will apply. I already have like a plan that if I don't get in, I will do my master's here, because PT schools look at what you did once you like didn't get accepted. They want to know what you did to like better yourself, or like how did you change. And so a lot of people like recommend like, oh, go for your master's. They'll see you went more. They see you want more. So that is my plan. So hopefully I get in.
So how are you going to use your programs, your study abroad programs, on your resume, because that really does help boost how you put it on there and helps your employers, even if for schools.
Honestly, I'm gonna be honest right now. I don't know how I'm going to like incorporate it yet, but I would want to incorporate it somehow that I've experienced what like other people go through, see how their, I guess, like ways of living are and how it could compare to ours and how things should like change over here or change over there, things like that. That's what I'm thinking of doing, but I'm not 100% sure if that's the way I should go in putting it and explaining it.
So I'm going to be 100% too. I did not put the study abroad programs on my resume. I did not know that you could do that. And then when I was actually talking to Nicolette, which is our supervisor and coordinator for the Office of Global Engagement, she just kind of was like, what do you mean? That's a higher education. Like, that is a type of higher education that you're going. That is a program that you're going to excel your knowledge. Why wouldn't you put that on? And I was like, whoa.
Especially too for me, because my kinesiology program was a grad course. It was a graduate course, not an undergrad course.
Yeah.
Oh, so that I feel like that kind of gives me something too, that they're like, oh, you're an undergrad taking a grad course, even though it's not like a super hard graduate course, but it's still a grad course.
It's still a grad course, but it's also like that immersive learning as well. Especially you're like in Ireland, the kinesiology, and y'all even went to a football game, not a soccer game, a football game.
Oh yes.
And so
well, the team we were supporting lost, so
it's okay. You know what? They won in your hearts.
Go Rovers.
But I think that is something that has to be talked about as well, is like learning how to put study abroad programs on your resume and on your CV, because it really is a whole different type of experience compared to like you
said, some don't know that you can put it on there, and that kind of gives you a leg up sometimes too, because they see that you took the initiative to go out of the country and you want to learn something different, things like that.
Exactly. And I think that initiative is like the most essential part. That is the key and the stepping stone of how to get to something that you want. And we're going to talk about that later on in one of our episodes of how to actually put it onto your resume and like on your CV and go more into depth.
I better watch that episode.
Yeah. Crossing cultures, releasing all these episodes. But for real, I think that is something that has to be talked about.
Yes, it should be.
Because you, Miss Girl, trying to like get into PT school and like might be applying for your master's, that is definitely like a hot shot that you have to put on there, because it's very like fundamental and like showing that initiative for you, especially towards your education. So yeah, do you have any last comments that you want to give? Any advice to our fellow Javelinas, a part of Javelina Nation, about maybe interested in or joining a study abroad program?
I would say do it, even though, because I know some people don't do it because they're scared. They're like, oh, I don't know anything about this country. Like, what is going to happen to me over there? I'd say just, or like even like financial choices. You may struggle with like finding a way to pay for it, but like even in the end, it's still going to be worth it, because one, you're going to experience a new country. This is the first 2 times I've ever traveled outside the country. It's probably the only 2 times I travel outside of the country. And not even just that, like I got to go to New York for like a day because of our flights. So I had never been to New York. So this was another experience within the US to compare to Texas in general, because when are we ever going to get out of Texas? It's too big to drive out. But things like that, like just take the risk and go for it, because granted, you may have like problems here and there. You may not like someone who's on the trip, or you're like me. It was like a lot of back-to-back early mornings, things like that. It may not seem worth it during it, or like it is, but you're just tired. But like in the end, you're going to enjoy it, and you're going to be like looking back at pictures and be like, man, I want to go back. Like I still do that with South Africa. I'm like, man, I want to go back and hang out with Gita and Anel. I want to go back to the safari, or like Ireland. Like I want to go back to this place because it's so pretty. Like I wish I could have spent more time there, things like that. And like I would want to do another study abroad, but like I don't have the money for that right now, or time essentially. But like if I had the chance to like do another one, I would. So like my thing is just do it no matter what. Like you'll find a way to make it, or you'll find a way to make it work. So
oh my god, We love that. But especially the financial part, we don't want anybody to be held back from that because we do have scholarships within our office. I mean, our South Africa trip, that we had a big scholarship for that. And then even like Ireland, we have our office gives out scholarships for every program every year. We have that, and then we can
That's
also
what got me to go to South Africa was their scholarship.
And then also we have different resources that we can reach out for you. Like we have the Gilman scholarships. We can look at the FEA scholarship. We can look at different even like Fulbright programs. We can find something to accommodate you so that way you can go out there and actually have that global experience to globalize your degree. And that's what we want to emphasize, because I know later on in life, like how you said, you're going to get caught up and you're going to get busy and you're going to like just be going like 9 to 5s, doing all of this. And then you're going to be looking back and be like, oh, wow, that was my biggest regret, not to do a study abroad program. And I never in 100 years would have thought I would have gone abroad in college. Yeah. Because I was like, yeah, no, I don't have the time. I don't have the money. I'm first generation student. So I got kind of scared. I was like, oh, wow, that's a lot of different like opportunities. And that's scary. I don't think that's meant for me. But it is meant for you. It is meant for everyone to enjoy and everyone to see. The world is yours to explore. And like, we're going to take you beyond the classroom. We're going to globalize that degree to your fullest extent.
Like my sister, she's an alumni from Tamuk, and she did 2 study abroad scholarships, trips, not scholarships. Whoops.
Yeah, different programs.
And like she was another reason like why I wanted to go on like study abroad was because she had so much fun with her too. She went with Dr. Goswami to Bhutan, which is like right above India if you want to look that up, and then New Zealand, and she had the time of her life over there. She learned like the different religion that they have over there in Bhutan, and like that in Bhutan they're not very modernized over there as like right now, I don't know, but when she went they weren't. And then like New Zealand like is modernized. It was like another like different experience for her. And so she was one of the reasons why I wanted to do study abroad, because she was like, I had so much fun. I learned so much about the country that like I'm never going to forget. So like you should do it too. You see? And like the one worry though was money, but we made it work to where I was able to go.
Exactly. Like we're going to get you there. Don't like, we will work with you. We will find a way. It is just so important and essential, like she said, like especially like that. To me, I think that's amazing. Like both, like you as sisters, y'all both went out there and y'all were like both inspired to go out there, and that just really shows.
And I really think it will help in the future for anyone. Like no matter what your major is, it will help, because like my mom, granted, she didn't go on any study abroads. She didn't graduate with a college degree or anything like that. But her job, she didn't even expect it, was to like meet up with people in London, in China, things like that. And being able just to be in another country and learn and see what they do there is going to help, because let's say you're an engineer or something like that and you are going to go help in another country. Let's say you need to know what their projects are doing, what they're doing, how they work on their time schedule and things like that. And so being in another country and just experiencing like the culture around it will give you the leg up compared to like other people.
Exactly. That is 100%. Like you have to give that respect, that cultural awareness and respect to like the different customs, traditions. Yeah. But yeah, wow. It's crazy. The world is so diverse, and I just love that we get to like talk about that. But yeah, that is it for today's episode for Crossing Cultures. We hope that you had a great time. Thank you, Miss Alexia, for coming on today to be talking about your South Africa political science program with Dr. Goswami, and then of course your Ireland kinesiology program with Dr. Shippard. So yeah, we look forward to talking to you guys next time. Bye.